going to start in just a few minutes. Of course, they usually have 5 o'clock press conference. For the first time, they moved it back to 4 o'clock. The rules stay the same. Each reporter gets 1 question, 1 follow-up. As I said yesterday, it's like cutting the wings off a bird for a journalist, but this is what we got. So we have Brian Krankel, who's our IT reporter. He's here, so we'll get 4 in. And there are a lot of questions to be asked. My large working officials tell me that there's not going to be any bombshell at this news conference. What there likely will be is more video of that map that you referred to, Emily, and video of the second individual, which I tried to ask yesterday at the end of the news conference, but I got shut down. What that was is this is the individual seen in the video yesterday, released by the FBI, that apparently comes close to the person of interest. The person of interest sees him and then turns and runs. That's the only video we've seen of him running. So you don't have to watch Law and Order every night to understand what is going on here. Either the person of interest recognized this individual and didn't want to be spotted in that area, so he took off, or possibly this second individual may have been working with him. So that's what investigators are looking at. We should also tell you that investigators were in North Attleboro and Plainville today. We're hoping to learn more about that. Let's head it back to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to our daily briefing. I want to start by just acknowledging how the residents of Providence and the students and campus community at Brown are still feeling restless and eager for an arrest. And we understand and share that feeling. We are also eager for an arrest. The investigation is well underway, and we'll hear an update in just a second from Colonel Perez and Attorney General Noronha. But I want to reemphasize that in the Providence community and with the governor's help, really in the broader Providence community, we have tightened security and we have neighbors looking out for one another, and we will get through this. I know our city, and we are a resilient community, and we are a city that will support one another as we move forward in this scary time. Just because you're feeling unsafe doesn't mean that that's invalid. We know that that's real, but we are doing everything we can to both advance this investigation, but also to provide the support necessary as we move forward and take the first steps together that we need to, as a city, to start to recognize that kids need to go to school and people need to go to work, and we appreciate the courage and sometimes even tentative steps forward that we're taking as we start to move forward as a community. At this time, I'd like to introduce Colonel Oscar Perez, who will give an update on the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. If we can please show the photo that we released earlier today. So we have released this enhanced photo earlier today, and I want to be clear that this is a person that we would like to speak with. We truly believe, based on the video footage that we have been watching for a few days, that may have relevant information to the investigation. So we're asking the public that you can help us identify who this individual is, as well if the individual themselves sees their picture, to please contact the police department. As far as one thing that I want to mention, I want to urge you, the public, not to rely on or circulate AI-generated images that are currently being shared on social media, as they're not verified or credible. As well, the updates and information that you're getting will be provided exclusively through this department's official channels. I want to make sure that we make that happen, and please notify the public to make sure that that occurs. I would also like to clarify and show a map. Please, if you can play the map. So the map here that you see is actually a map of the area that we have been intensively walking on those streets, canvassing the area. So as you see the blue image, yesterday I mentioned that we need the public's assistance to check their camera assistance or any sort of video that you may have that could be helpful to us, that you, as you're watching it or as you're reviewing it, you feel there may be something that we can use, please notify us. And if you need any help with that, viewing those videos, please also call us. We can come over and help you. The green area, that's color, that's when we have confirmed where the subject was prior to the shooting. The red areas, we have also confirmed that that's the immediate area where he left after the shooting. And so this is the map that actually we have so far. We've walked it all. We're still actively investigating, and we're still actively having agents, Providence police officers, members of the state police. There is about 9 federal agencies that are assisting us with this investigation, adding the state police as well as the Providence police and other municipalities. Again, I would like to reiterate, if you have any tips, please call the 272-3121 or the FBI link at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. Thank you.
Attorney General Peter Nerona for an update. Okay. Thank you, General. One additional update from me, and then we'll be happy to take your questions. First, I want to just take a moment to recognize and honor the memory of Ella Cook and Muhammad Aziz Umerzakov, who are the 2 deceased victims from this tragedy, and update you on the status of the survivors. Yesterday, we mentioned that one individual had been discharged. I'm happy to report that another individual has been discharged today. That leaves 1 survivor in critical but stable condition and 5 in stable conditions. The parents that I spoke with today all reported that their kids were improving. So this is a happy announcement, but I know the entire Providence community, the entire state of Rhode Island, the governor and I were together at a memorial service last night, mourn the loss and offer our most sincere condolences to the Cook and Umerzakov families. Following up on a note that the Colonel made with respect to AI-generated images and other misinformation, we have created an online folder with all of the video and images that have been released. And we encourage both members of the press, but also members of the community. We know lots of people are sharing information, and we appreciate that. We think that will help with this investigation. But we encourage them to download and share the videos and photos from the website that has been created so that you can ensure that you're sharing an accurate and verified photo and video. That website is now live. It is providenceri.gov/tips. TIPS. providenceri.gov/tips is an online file folder that has the videos and photos that have been released to date, and it will be updated as we progress. There's been lots of conversation up here about the heroic work of the hundreds of law enforcement professionals who remain hard at work 24 hours a day and who are, in fact, making progress. I want to close with one additional thank you tonight. All of those tip line calls are coming into the city's telecommunications department, the same folks who answer the 911 calls, and they too have been working tirelessly, and I want to thank the men and women at dispatch and at telecommunications for their diligence. Everyone in the city of Providence truly has a role to play in this investigation, and we're grateful for their assistance. We'll take your questions. John.
Colonel, I have a question for Colonel regarding the map. As he's walking around, I want to establish actually, what's the earliest that this person of interest emerges? I believe you had said Saturday morning at 10:30, but then someone else said maybe a couple days earlier. And I recognize that it fluctuates and this is evolving. But as of right now, what's the earliest that this individual, to your knowledge, shows up on camera?
About 10:30 a.m. on the date of this tragic incident. However, so like anything else, I also mentioned yesterday that they do case the areas. They do a lot of prior checking for their crime, and so we truly believe that it could be that possibly it was there prior as well. And so we want to make sure that we don't miss anything. And so that's why we're asking the public to help us to ensure within that map area that I mentioned, with the borders between Wickeden, Brook, all those areas, Gano, that if you have a camera system, to reach out to us.
I was in along I Street, Gano today. Tremendous number of federal officials literally going door to door. Would you say, how would you describe? I mean, it just seems that this is probably right now the most massive, intensive manhunt going on in the world.
I think I agree with you on that, John, and definitely commend the men and women, obviously, and all our federal partners. It's a lot of work, and it's intense, as you stated. It takes a lot to be able to knock on doors, see videos. There's terabytes of videos that you have to look, and I mentioned it yesterday. We're looking for a moment that takes almost less than a second, and if you miss it, you're missing something that could be critical and important for us to use. And so, yes, it's definitely an intense, and I believe that is probably the most intense investigation going on right now in this nation.
Colonel, the second person that you want to talk to, can you drill down at all on any interactions that you believe you may have had with the main person of interest? Do you believe he talked to him? How close was he to him? Any interactions? What can you tell me?
So yeah, we have video footage of that determines to us and the detectives that can tell that this person was in the vicinity where the subject of interest was that we wanted that we actually have an interest on. Close enough that we feel that we need to speak with them to find out because videos don't speak. If you think about it, I wish the video could speak, and then I'll have the answers that we need to, so that we can continue on this investigation. So we're trying to find out exactly what it is, and that's why we need to speak with them. Please.
Does this person, this new individual, have anything to do with why the person of interest was seen running in the surveillance footage?
Again, I wish the videos could speak. We're trying to get those answers.
And have you found any items of interest during your search, specifically clothing?
Nothing as we speak, no.
Up front here.
Who among law enforcement or other first responders was first on the scene that day, and who came next?
So Brown University was on scene, and then immediately the Providence Police Department within minutes was there.
Back there. The green jacket.
Previously released a video from 216 on the day of the shooting where we see the person of interest come into contact or near another person. Is that the moment that you think this new person and the person of interest might have come close?
That's correct. It's around the area of Benevolent and Cook.
So behind the Rhode Island Historical Society, that corner of Georgia?
Right near that area, correct.
And you had some searches going on in North Attleboro today. Is that connected at all to this case?
I can confirm we're all over the place. If a tip comes in and he needs us to go down to Connecticut, we're going down to Connecticut. If a tip comes in and tells us that we got to go to Boston, we're going to Boston.
Right there in the middle. The green jacket. Go ahead.
Is it possible that the second person could become a person of interest?
All we know is that that person was in the vicinity of the subject that we have an interest on, and we want to speak with them.
Miss and
En
Greg.
español, si nos puede contar, jefe Pérez, esta persona, la persona que busca identificar esa interacción, en qué área sucedió y qué pide de la comunidad.
Yes, so pretty much the question is just if we can explain in Spanish exactly why we're looking for this individual, or why do we want to speak with them. So Esta persona verdaderamente es alguien que nosotros tenemos un interés de hablar con ellos porque estaba en la área inmediata donde este individuo estaba. Entonces queremos saber más de por qué estaba ahí para explicar la razón y qué interacción hubo.
¿Tienen algún indicativo de que la persona que cometió el tiroteo actuó sola o actuó con alguien más?
Eso es lo que estamos investigando.
My question is, have you found any DNA evidence from the crime scene or the area that you believe might belong to the shooter?
So we have found a lot of evidence that we need to, and we use and utilize them to hopefully guide us in the right direction in order to identify the individual that we're looking for.
Any of that been DNA evidence?
This actual physical evidence, there's DNA evidence, there's a lot of evidence that we're collecting to ensure that we can find the answer.
Pat?
A question for Attorney General Nerona. My understanding from your conversations over the last few days is that the Attorney General's office is taking the lead in terms of doing the investigation. My question is, what's the relationship between the Attorney General's office and the Rhode Island State Police, who we haven't heard much from over the last few days, in terms of who's doing what and what type of time commitment? And I do have a follow-up.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we're leading it. I think that we are working closely with our law enforcement investigators. So you divide, I think you can divide, in a case like this, the people involved into two groups. So there are at least 5 prosecutors that have been here since Saturday night. I've been here for a fair chunk of it myself, particularly after hours back at the office. But what those prosecutors are doing, Pat, is asking questions, helping to narrow and inform factual inquiries. Certainly when there's a question, all right, do we have enough to get a search warrant for a house or a car or a buccal swab from a person of interest? They're informing that. So in any complex investigation, both federally and stateside, prosecutors are embedded with the investigative team, and we bring our own heads to the investigation because we have been involved in writing search warrant affidavits and arrest warrant affidavits and wiretaps for years.
And the Rhode Island State Police, what kind of role have they played in terms of investigating? And I still have
Well,
a quick
yeah, the Colonel can answer that, but before you do, Colonel, I just want to make sure that I answer it as well. One of the images that I have most keenly in my mind from a couple nights ago is a state police lieutenant or Derek Melfi talking to John Permiano of the Providence Police, talking to Colin Woods of the FBI, and identifying a certain piece of video evidence that's important to this investigation. And that's how intertwined and cohesive it is, while prosecutors look on and engage at the same time.
So I addressed this question a couple of days ago. So this is a very collaborative effort between all of law enforcement, between the Providence Police, the state police, all of our federal partners. We will continue to develop leads and follow that with the evidence that comes along with that until this perpetrator is apprehended.
Thank you. I have one quick follow-up for the gentleman from Brown University.
Yep.
Can you say for the record and with complete certainty that every bit of digital mass surveillance, whatever type of evidence was collected by the infrastructure of Brown University has been turned over to the Providence Police Department as well as the Attorney General's office? Is the Brown University withholding anything, for the record?
For the record, we are cooperating 100% with law enforcement. We are turning over everything we have to assist in this investigation.
And you have a map, and they are fully aware of whatever surveillance is being taken?
All materials are being provided to law enforcement.
Tom.
Mayor, thank you very much. Regarding the new person of interest video, who may have had contact with the primary person? Does law enforcement not have the capability to identify and find someone when you have like full face recognition without exposing them to public scrutiny? That's a follow-up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something where you have to investigate. If you don't know who that person is, it's very difficult, and especially if the image is blurred, it's very difficult to identify him. And so if we had that availability to be able to identify him without the assistance of the public, we would. So at this point, we do not, and that's why we're putting it out to the public to assist us in identifying who this person is.
And then with this person of interest that you're looking at today, or this subject that you released today, Are we sure it's a man? I know it was brought up in the question before, it could be a man, but are we 100% sure it's a man, or could it be a woman as well?
It's a person that we would like to at least speak with.
But, there's no giving a gender at this time?
No, there isn't.
Colonel, there's a black
Patrick.
satchel that the main person of interest was carrying. In some images, he is seen with it, some images he is seen without.
Sorry, man.
Have you recovered that black satchel? Do you know can you tell us whether he was wearing that, strapped over his shoulder?
Yes.
Was he wearing it before the shooting, after the shooting?
He's wearing it at times, definitely on and off, and I think I addressed that yesterday. Obviously, that we see him in the video with it, and then at times we don't see him, just like you stated. So we're assuming that he actually hid it under the coat that he was wearing, but we don't have it, no.
Patrick.
For Colonel Perez.
Yes.
The map that you showed, it looks like the perimeter has moved south into the Fox Point area from the immediate places where we've seen video footage. Can you tell me why the level of interest has moved south of the shooting site and into the Fox Point area? Is there new video footage? Is there additional evidence that points towards that area?
I mean, the investigation is intensive, so we're following his path. And he's getting us, the last place we saw him was right at Ives near Pittman. And so that's sort of south, and we're going to continue to check, but that's the last place that we saw him. That's why we moved south, and we may continue to move. It all depends. We want to see as far as we can, how far we can go to identify him.
Are there any other sightings or anything else down by, that you've extended all the way to like Wickeden where we don't have any?
Correct. We're at Ives and Pittman right now, but potentially could lead us further down to Butler. It could lead us further down south. So we just want to make sure we cover enough.
Steve.
Colonel, can you now explain to us 5 days later how many students were in that classroom? Sadly, 2 lost their lives, 9 others injured. We're encouraged about the update today. But can you now say how many kids were in that classroom? And did the gunman come in from the back so these people never knew it was coming? Or did he come in front with full view of everybody?
And that's all part of the interviews, and actually we're cooperating with Brown to get the roster. That was a study hall, so we don't have the number. We're still getting information as far as who was there. I know Brown sent out an email to the students to notify us if they were present, and we're still getting that, so I can't give you an exact account now.
Okay, and then just a follow-up. You did say that you lost sight of the gunman at some specific road
Correct.
outside of your perimeter.
No, it's within the perimeter, Steve. Yeah.
Right, and then what happened with him after that? There's no, you have no video of where he could have gone from there?
We're still out there as we speak. There's people out there, detectives out there, there's task force officers. We're trying to figure out what other locations we can find, but we haven't found anything else. But we're knocking on doors and making sure, and that's why I'm putting out the call to the public to assist us. If you happen to be within that box, that borders exactly where we want you to look, then that's exactly why we're here.
Second round here.
Yeah. Inside the classroom, you've done your interviews, you continue to do your interviews. The description that eyewitnesses are giving, does it match the primary person of interest? And what can you say more about the weapon? You know that the TA said that he saw a gun that was so big and so long. Is it possible at this point that the gunman had multiple weapons? Can you square that for us?
Yeah, there's definitely, the interviews are definitely telling us that that's the description that we have. And yes, they're describing the weapon. Some people obviously can think it was chaos. And so we're definitely getting some info as far as what the weapon looked like and exactly what was going on in that room. So
We don't think there's multiple weapons?
no, just that individual.
I just want to jump in here too, because you mentioned a long gun. We are not in a position to say, unless the chief, you want to square it, whether this was a long gun or not. I think that there's been an account from the TA. There are multiple accounts about multiple things, including how this gunman approached the victims. Those are not details that advance the investigation. Why not? They don't advance the investigation because as we interview witnesses, we don't want them to learn facts from these press conferences. We want them to relay the facts that they have in their heads, including a person of interest. So we don't want a person of interest to shape what they're telling us based on what we know as expressed to you about those kinds of details, sir, that you asked. So we're being careful about the facts that we're sharing for that reason, so that when we talk to witnesses, what we're getting is their factual recitation. And as you might imagine, in a situation where there is chaos, and look, people are ducking for cover as well they should have, you are going to get different accounts, and part of what's going on now is reconciling those accounts. And I don't know, Chief, if you want to weigh in more about the weapon, but I don't want anyone to leave this room thinking that this weapon was a long gun, because that would be a misperception from what I know.
Alex.
In the video released yesterday, it appears that the person of interest is going by a police cruiser that has its lights on. Does that mean that the dash cam in that cruiser was on and activated, and have police been able to recover anything useful from that video?
So that was a brown police cruiser, and I'm not sure if they have body cameras in their cruisers. I don't think they do.
Dash cam, no.
That's, no.
Okay.
I don't want to answer
And
for
then
the chief.
my next follow-up question would be, are you working with flock camera experts to try and recover anything from those cameras?
So as you know, we work with Flock, we have LPRs in the city, and we're utilizing every resource we can. Yes, Alex. Yeah.
Brian.
Colonel, you mentioned there is other evidence, but at this point, how much of this investigation turns on the public identifying who's in those images? And are you discouraged or surprised that after a couple days of it being out there, you haven't gotten anything more concrete?
No, I think this is, like I said earlier, it's a very intense investigation, and I think it's going to take public assistance. It's actually going to take, obviously, 21st century policing involving technology, but it's also going to take good old-fashioned police work, which is knocking on doors, retrieving evidence, going through yards, talking to witnesses. It's going to take all that and more, Brian.
Yeah, and no one's discouraged. I mean, I've been in that command post. No one's discouraged. I mean, leads are coming in, they're being run to ground, and no one's discouraged. Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the command post, as the colonel has, and no one's discouraged. I mean, I get when I'm not there, I get hourly reports from my own team, and there's an enormous amount of energy for people who have been working as hard as they have been. I'm really quite impressed by that, frankly, and there's no discouragement among people who understand that not every case is a case that can be solved quickly. In my view, they get solved. It's just a matter of time. In this case, we'll get solved too.
Would you have a message or an appeal to the shooter or anybody who may think they know who they are, who may be on the fence?
Well, look, certainly it would behoove everyone, including the shooter, to provide information to law enforcement and to the shooter to turn himself in. He will be caught, and it's just a matter of time before we catch him. And I believe that based on my experience, but also from watching the people in that command post and getting reports from where they're coming back out in the field. They know what they're doing, they're experienced, they're working hard. There's no lack of resources. Everyone's working really well together. And we're going to crack this case. And when we crack it, it's going to come open really quickly.
Straight back from the best.
Thank you. For you, Mayor, have you spoken with local business owners about how much this is impacting their bottom line, especially during the holiday season, and any concerns that they might have about the situation?
Yeah, I have. It's hard work being a small business owner, and this time of year is critical to them. There's a commercial district just off campus called Thayer Street. Those businesses are particularly struggling as both students went home early and some people are avoiding the area. Similarly, there's a couple other commercial districts nearby the area, which is Wickenden Street, as has been discussed here tonight, and Wayland Square. The city's Department of Economic Development, in partnership with the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, is reaching out to those business owners to look at assistance programs or otherwise try to support them to ensure that their businesses can stay healthy and vibrant through this.
Do you know when those might take effect?
Those conversations started yesterday, and so we're working with the various merchants associations to try to determine what sort of assistance might be most helpful, and when it's ready to announce, we will. Thanks. Please.
My question is for the colonel. So looking at this new map, there's more video so far of him before than there is after the shooting. Do you think that the person of interest got to the vehicle somewhere within this area, and are you going to go through license plate readers?
Absolutely, yeah. We're looking for that evidence, if there was any vehicles involved. And yes, you're right, he was there earlier, and so that's why we're looking at that as well. And definitely, we're using, I mentioned that earlier, the LPRs, the Flock, any cameras. That's why we're making a call out to the public to assist us with that. It's all part of those resources that we're going to need, as the general stated, to make that apprehension.
Dan.
I have a question, a follow-up first to the Attorney General. Attorney General Dan Janik, NBC 10.
Hi, Dan.
You had said the other day that you released the person of interest because the DNA didn't match, which would assume that there was DNA of the person of interest in that room. Can you tell us what it was, and if he hasn't committed a crime before, how it makes it a little bit more difficult?
Yeah, so DNA, when it's entered into a nationwide system, can confirm the identity of a suspect or a subject. And certainly the advantage here is that when we find a person of interest, and we can get a search warrant for what we call a buccal swab, we can compare that to a known quantum of evidence. That can rule people in and obviously can rule people out. That's a powerful piece of evidence, but it's not the only evidence. And relatedly to the question about, do we need only the public is going to really help us here by identifying this person. But at the same time, there are other leads coming in through other forms of electronic and other evidence that are taking multiple teams out in different directions. And we're able, through a variety of means, not just DNA evidence, to rule people in or rule people out. And it's a combination of really impressive work by, vector experts in various forms of modern law enforcement techniques.
I have a second question, Brown. So I asked this question out of deep respect, but I asked it for a lot of parents who are frustrated who reached out to me, so please keep that in mind. And they want to know how a school with a $9 billion endowment does not have cameras on one of the older buildings at the edge of the campus where this happened, not even in the front door, who's coming and going. Now, they asked this question knowing that the shooter may have done whatever he wanted, but the cameras, A, would have deterred, or B, captured a better look at him, and we wouldn't be here today 5 days out. I want you to explain that, because there's a lot of parents who are wondering, where are you investing your money?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, and I want to reiterate, as our president did, that supporting our students and communicating to the parents, to our community about our support is of utmost importance. We have 1,200 cameras located throughout the campus. We don't publish the locations of the cameras. That would give a map to somebody to evade detection on the cameras. So that would be counterproductive to do that. There are cameras in this building, and as I answered the previous question, we have turned over all evidence that we are holding at Brown to law enforcement and are cooperating fully with them.
So you're saying that there's a camera, you're saying there's cameras in the building. I was told yesterday there wasn't cameras in the building. The Attorney General said, old building, no cameras, attached to a new building with cameras.
I believe he said that there were 2 different phases of the building that might have 2 different levels of technology. Again, all video imagery has been turned over to law enforcement.
That doesn't make sense.
Amanda.
Just want to say that.
Okay, I have a question for the chief and a question for the FBI.
Chief, how you doing, Amanda?
So, looking at this person of interest, and from witness descriptions, it appears that this person had a genuine familiarity with Brown, possibly with that building as well. Have you, in questioning people, have you questioned and eliminated any Brown employees, current, former, disgruntled, facing discipline, any type of complaints?
Yeah, at this point, it's unknown to us. I think that the investigation is on, but it's unknown to us where this person works. It's unknown to us if he was an affiliate of Brown. That's all unknown to us. All we have is the image that we've been releasing and informed you all about it. And so we're hoping to get those answers eventually, who that person is or what their background is.
Okay, and a question, follow-up for the FBI, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I understand that the FBI has doing tower dumps of cell phone data, and I'm not sure if this is also happening, but if you're also checking the MAC addresses of any phones related to any of the Wi-Fi at residences or at Brown University as well. If so, how long does it take to get that information? Have you even received any preliminary information that is helping you narrow down any potential persons of interest?
I will say that I don't want to get into the specifics of the techniques that we use investigatively, but I will say that we are using every resource that we have to find this subject and bring him to justice.
But when it comes to cell phone data, how long does it take to get that information? Would we be getting weeks, months?
I will say that it varies as it relates to getting that type of data. I will say that everything that we're doing is getting expedited based on the gravity of what has happened here at Brown University.
Right next to you.
Have you recovered any physical evidence during these recent searches, and possibly including a gun magazine?
So we have done extensive searches both inside the location as well as outside. Yes, we have seized and found physical evidence.
And does that include a gun magazine?
We have found physical evidence.
Can you say where?
I'm not going to confirm. I'm sorry? Yeah. Please.
Colonel, for the past couple of days, we have zeroed in on this particular person of interest. Can you kind of help remind us about why you believe this is someone who possibly could be either the shooter or a suspect? You've been very careful not to say a suspect. You've said a person of interest, but this is the only video. Can you help remind us about why you believe this is the person, not looking for others?
We have enough evidence, I think, that's taken us to that level to identify this individual as someone who was there immediately after, before, case in the area. There's enough for us to believe that's definitely a subject of interest based on descriptions, based on statements, and so that's the reason we're calling him a subject of interest, just to ensure that we have enough, and once we identify him, to be able to take the next step.
A quick follow. You were very clear not to use gender with the person in proximity to the person of interest, but you have been using male pronouns describing this person as a man. For this particular person of interest, we can say for sure you believe that we are looking for a man for the person of interest?
Correct.
In the back there.
At this point, and this is for the FBI, at this point, this person could be anywhere, right? I-95 runs right through the state. So how are you coordinating with other states to determine whether this person of interest could be elsewhere?
No, that's a great question. Through all of our field offices, we have 56 field offices throughout the United States as well as legats abroad. And so the information that we have, once it goes into our data systems, we are sharing that information real time with all of our FBI field offices and the partners as well. And so that is a way in which we're making sure that whether that subject has left the state or even left the country, that we are using that full reach of the federal arm to track that individual down.
And a follow-up real quick for one of you. I understand that Brown has 1,200 cameras. Why, and that those images have been handed over to the investigation, why have we not seen any of this footage? Wouldn't it help if the media or if the general public saw people walking through campus and just to get angles?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to that is footage of students running from the scene doesn't help advance identifying this person or this investigation. So,
Him walking into the building?
no, not him. I'm talking about video footage of students that were not harmed, other students hearing shots, running through a different part of the building. We have video footage of that. That doesn't help us identify this individual.
With respect to Attorney General, I think we could all agree that maybe, within the 24 hours ahead of that time, there is a lot of footage that could be gone through or those 1,200 cameras that you say there are in the school. Why hasn't that just been released to the public?
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Would you like all of it?
Why not?
Well, because here's why. Because it doesn't tell us anything about who committed this crime yet. If we get a better image of who committed this crime, you'll have it. There is no effort to preclude the public, online investigators in the press, from getting to the result faster than we can. If you can identify this person faster than we can, have at it. But we are giving you the best evidence we can to identify this person. The FBI, with respect, cannot find a person we have not identified yet. The way we identify him is to focus on this person, exhaust our investigative resources to pull videotape so that we can get an image out there that the public may be able to identify. At the same time, exploiting other evidence to try to track this person in different ways, which has been going on for the last 72 hours. So, well, what does that look like? What that looks like is information comes in. It could come in from the tip line. The team runs it to ground. They rely on other evidence, the flock cameras that the colonel referenced, other electronic data that Amanda's referring to, and you can rule that person in or out. When that person's is ruled out, you move on to the next one. The way the public helps us now is to help us identify this person. Okay, but that's not the exclusive way we're going at it. But it does not advance our investigation to have reams of data out there that don't help identify the shooter. And we're confident of that.
My follow-up question just to that was as well is, we speak a lot about the public helping as well, and we know that the FBI is involved. But 5 days, a person can get very far in 5 days. What are the departments are holding you with this, and do you have any indication where, how far this person may have gotten in this time?
Go ahead,
Yeah, no, I got it. So pretty much, it's a great point, and that's something that we're considering. Obviously, he could be anywhere. You're right. And I think the fact that we're all here in this room and we're providing the info and it's being spread out through this nation, I would hope, I'm speaking to different chiefs. I've had the privilege to know a lot of them. We're exchanging info as we speak. We don't know. But we still don't know what the person is or who he is, right? And so we're going to continue to view, review, and then send out. And I just want to touch on that question because you do make a good point. If there's 1,200 cameras, right, how come we're not seeing it at all? But at the end of the day, we're looking at key evidence, key video evidence to send out. It makes no sense to re-victimize students who went through that. That's not my job, and that my responsibility is to ensure that people are safe. It's no different than I'm asking the public to provide me with video footage for weeks. I don't want to know what's going on in their homes for weeks. I want to know if they can see a piece of evidence that is going to be helpful for us to progress in this investigation.
What do you know about the level of public access to Darris and Holly? Is this a door that somebody from the shooter would have been able to walk in, or is this a place where you would have needed like swipe access to get in?
Certainly. Thanks for that question. Brown is no different than most colleges and universities that during daytime hours, there's open access to academic spaces. So that was the case on the day of the event.
Bill.
Question for Brown. There are some buildings on campus that have what may be private or non-police security guards posted at the front entrance. Was there a security guard ever posted at the engineering building entrance? If so, were they there that day, and what did they do? And if not, why not?
So maybe I'll ask our chief of police to speak to that.
On that day, we did not have and do not have a security asset posted inside the building.
Is that atypical of a Saturday or in that particular building? How do you determine where security is posted, and is that under the purview of Brown Police?
That is typical for that academic space.
That there would not be a security personnel?
Correct.
Right behind. There you go.
One for the colonel, one for the newsman.
Yeah.
As far as the investigation goes, any updates on a possible motive here? And for the mayor, while I have you, we're getting towards Christmas time. Obviously, this suspect can get lots of different places, not just on campus there. What is your message to people coming into this area, seeing family who are concerned that this guy is still out?
Yeah, so the motive is unknown at this time.
We're, what are we, a week away from Christmas now? This only emphasizes the question that I think everyone's been asking, which is, are we safe in Providence right now? Which honestly is the hardest question that I keep getting asked. And whether it's the holidays or not, but with the holidays, we expect even more people to want to come home and celebrate with family and share the traditions that, are seared in all of our brains of holidays with our parents and loved ones. We can't lock down the city indefinitely. We can't. And I know this city. I know they're tough. I know that they are resilient. I know that they have faced scary times before. And so we are doing everything possible to provide extra law enforcement, extra visibility, things to reassure confidence at a scary time. And it is a scary time here in the city. That's true at Christmas time. That was true when this started on Sunday morning, the first morning after. And so we are doing everything possible, but obviously families are going to have a conversation about what's right and what's best. But they should know that their city government is doing everything they know how. And thanks to the help of our friends, the governor and the Rhode Island State Police, our neighboring communities here in Rhode Island. For those of you who aren't from Rhode Island, this is a tight-knit place. And we have police officers from every corner of Rhode Island helping out in Providence right now. And so we are doing everything we can to reassure folks, to provide comfort, particularly as we expect will be even busier a week from now. And that is the best honest answer that I can give to that very difficult question. Please.
This question is for the Colonel. I know you've been interviewing survivors, specifically survivors that were in that classroom where the shooting took place. Have any of those survivors described the person of interest as the shooter, and or have they given a physical description of the shooter that is similar to the person of interest that we've been shown?
That's correct. Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
They have.
Yes.
Can you tell us how many actionable tips
No.
you've received at this point?
Happy to see Steve Klampkin.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And a two-part question, both for Colonel Perez and Mr. Doxel, FBI. As you've expanded the area that you've appealed to people who may have cameras within about an 80-block area, is it fair to say that the calls of people with cameras have tailed off, that you've gotten about all you can get?
No, we're still getting info. We're still getting calls, and we're doing a lot of knocking on doors, and it's been extremely helpful. So no, we're not done. We're going to continue to expand, and we get calls, and sometimes just knocking on doors alone is providing us that evidence.
And notwithstanding the fact the FBI issues a bulletin to all of its field offices and so forth, is it fair to say that until and unless you get a picture of this guy stepping into a car, you're not going to, basically starting from square one? You don't really have a sense of who he is, where he's going, and how he's getting there.
I would say, as it relates to the FBI, as well as our partners here, any information that comes in, that has not tailed off at all. And I would say one thing that remains constant is we will always need the public's assistance in anything that we do. No matter what you guys may see on TV, we will always need the public's assistance. I say as it relates to that, any tip that comes in, the information that we get, we're able to aggregate that and push out, not only to make links with other FBI field offices, so in the way in which we can follow that lead all the way to ground. And so the information that is coming in, we are pushing that out throughout our field offices, throughout our partnerships into that community, and then we get it back as well. That's helping us to cross off leads in which are not valid, and then to push on leads that are valid as well.
But without that, I don't know if it's a video or something that shows him stepping into a car and you get a plate or something along those lines, it makes your job that much more difficult.
Yes, and I mean, I think we mentioned this job is painstakingly difficult, but we've signed up to do it. As the AG mentioned, we have not lost any vigor or investigative rigor as we've gone forth into this. I will say that evidence that you're talking about sounds more like a smoking gun. Oftentimes, within my experience in the FBI, and I'm sure our partners as well, we get seeds. We only get seeds. And then we, through that hard work, as the Colonel mentioned, we end up building that story. We put that puzzle together. That's what we do. That's what we signed up for, and we're committed to that, to this community, to help do that.
In the back there. Yeah.
Thank you. Colonel. Yes. I want to follow up on one of my colleagues over there. You mentioned the old school police work, and my colleague mentioned crossing people off the list, like basically making sure it's not that person, it's not that person. In homicide investigations, isn't it usually someone close to the victim? And if so, have you, and the person also seems to have no ground somewhat, have you knocked off every single person from ground? When I say knock off, I mean they didn't do it, they didn't do it, they didn't do it, from staff to students.
Yes, of course. I mean, investigations, and I don't think that in every homicide, everyone that commits the homicide is close to that person. That's not something that happens. But we have obviously eliminated those strong leads that come up as strong leads. As a tip comes up, we label it as a high priority, medium priority, low priority. And yes, once we vet it through and make sure that we cover everything and we prove that that person has nothing to do with it, absolutely, we clear it out.
Yeah, and if I can I just want to just jump in here to clarify that. So clearly, one of the investigators do clearly, is that when you have a victim, you build back all of the relationships. You do that in any case, and so you build a profile of your victims, so you know who may have threatened them, what they may have said that might have caused somebody to react a certain way. So yeah, that work is ongoing in conjunction with all the other work we're doing. But from where I sit today, there's been no development of any evidence that suggests that that's what drove this shooter. That could change, but there's nothing that we have recovered or analyzed to date that suggests that it was specific person motivated. Again, it could change, but we're 5 days out. That work is being done, and there is nothing that suggests that at this time.
Last question.
This is for law enforcement and potentially Brown, but 5 days have passed. How is it possible that we still don't have a clear idea of who was in the classroom during the shooting?
5 days have passed. It could be 6 days. We were hoping that only 1 day passed. Unfortunately, investigations, as this nature of investigation, as intensive as it is going to take time. And it's going to take a lot of time to be able to interview, seize evidence, examine it, to come up with the right person. But as the general stated, a person is going to get caught. We're going to do our job, and we're not going to stop until we do. And so we're going to continue. It could be later, it could be tomorrow, but we're not stopping until we find them.
But surely there's a log or something of people entering that classroom in particular, no?
No, I'd be happy to speak to that. So at this time of year, we have final exams taking place. We also have study sessions taking place. That particular classroom, it was a study session. Had it been a final exam, we'd have a roster, we'd handed it over. We know exactly who was in the room because everybody shows up for a final. But for a study session, it's elective.
We're finishing the answer. Ronaldo.
It's elective. It's elective to turn out for a study session. So we don't know exactly what fraction of the overall roster turned out a voluntary review session.
So there's no physical log, just to clarify?
Law enforcement is working to reconstruct that, but there would not be a formal log.
The camera in that building, they Brown put up because the sanctuary city law that we have, you don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives, they're a friend of mine, they're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera up, they can identify that person. You imagine how the family want to go through? Tell the truth to the media here. Putting cameras off.
We heard from both the Brown Police Chief and the Provost at Brown, who have shared that they have been fully cooperative and been forthcoming with all data and evidence that they have. The City of Providence's experience is the same. Brown has been really cooperative and collaborative and fully sharing with us. We will be back here tomorrow. Once again, if you are not on the press list and you would like to be updated, please see Camille. Otherwise, we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Yes, at 4.
Thank you,
Grab the gun.